Hi, it's Tom from Wedgie, and here I am down at the A2 wind tunnels with Mike. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Mike Giroux from A2 Wind Tunnel. I'm the bicycle program director and test engineer. I've been doing this for 5 years now and focus solely on the development and athlete positioning and stuff for bicycles.
And one thing I've had a chance to see Mike work, and it's not only that he's a great technician when it comes to being in the wind tunnel, he understands cycling, because that's something I often hear. People going into the wind tunnel, they get dialed in so that they're aerodynamically optimized, but it's the ability to be comfortable and produce power that is huge. And my compliments, I've seen your work, and you find power and you find savings for people as well.
Well, thanks. I try and approach it from that perspective. You know, I'm a cyclist myself, and I understand some of the constraints and limitations that people may have. And having, just an overall great aero position really doesn't do a whole lot if you can't perform with it. So it's finding, what's the best setup for the individual and what their race distance and their limitations are, and kind of working within those boundaries.
Well, what do you see as either being the mistakes that people do, or words of advice you can give to people to improve their existing setups?
A lot of people focus a lot on what they hear, what they read, all secondhand information. And while some of it may be useful to some, everybody is so unique that it's hard to put a blanket statement that this is going to be better or worse. There's certain things that do happen to work for individuals that don't for other people, and getting your information secondhand or because it worked on so and so who's a really fast guy, doesn't make it right for you. And I think taking the proper channels, whether it be in aerodynamics or bike fit in general or anything like that, is the way to approach it. So I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see.
For example, cycling helmets, they all look great, and you can't say anything bad against them, but it is so individualized to the shape of the person's back, the shoulder, the riding position, that can make or break the aero numbers. So it's just not having a great helmet, it's having a great helmet that fits for you. Mike, what would you say has the biggest impact?
The person themselves is the biggest obstacle that they have to overcome. The rider themselves is 75% of the drag, and optimizing that is the biggest benefit that you can find. I see way too many people just spending tons and tons of money on products, and when they already have reasonably good products to start with, and they're upgrading, but they're ignoring the biggest piece of the pie, which is them. And refining your position and optimizing that is probably the biggest benefit that you can do for yourself.
People come in and they have a fitting session that's specific to aerodynamics. How does that compare to going into a bike shop and getting fitted for a bike?
I mean, what we do here is we refine an already good existing biomechanical fit. I mean, it's not one or the other. You need to have the fundamentally proper biomechanical side dealt with first. Then once that is dealt with, is where you're ready to go to a wind tunnel and work on refining and optimizing that fit for aerodynamics without compromising the biomechanical side. Right. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people, their misconception is they think automatically you're going to a wind tunnel, you're going to be put into a position that's not rideable, or you're going to compromise the biomechanics. And while that may be the case with some individuals, I'm not saying it is, but that's not the way that I approach it, at least. A wind tunnel is the proper facility for that type of testing. While there is some stuff you can do out on the road that will give you an idea, it's not an accurate measurement. A wind tunnel is the only place I think that you can get an aero fitting done. You see it advertised that people do aero fittings in studio settings, and I kind of laugh about it because, I mean, it's the equivalent of going out for a long bike ride and wanting to know exactly how far you went, not having a computer on your bike. Like, you can guess and you'll be pretty close maybe, but you're not going to know.
Well, that's the point is you're using the instrument to make the proper measurement.
Yes.
You know, so if you're going to want to know how much something weighs, you use a scale. If you want to know how fast something is, you use a speedometer, something to measure time and distance. If you want to measure aerodynamic drag, you use a instrument that's calibrated to measure precisely that, and that's a wind tunnel. Find out what works before you make the investment, and you want to find out what works for you rather than buying something because it's the most popular and it, you know, could be actually hurting your performance. Well, Mike, I know you're busy. People have been coming in and out, so it definitely is shaping up to be a great season for you. I really appreciate your time. And any last words of advice you want to share with everyone?
I think the big thing is just to get out and go ride your bike and enjoy yourself. I think too many people get wrapped up in the numbers and forget why they probably started riding a bike in the first place, which is it's fun, it's enjoyable. So just don't lose sight of why you started down this road in this sport, and have fun with it.
Yeah, have fun, feel the wind in your hair, and have a great time. Mike, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.